Good evening. This is the meeting of the Bennington Select Board. It's December 17th. We're meeting today rather than Christmas Eve. We have an abbreviated agenda, I can see, but I'm Tom Jacobs, and for the purposes of the meeting tonight, Nancy Lively is to my right, and we'll continue right around to introduce ourselves.
Donald Campbell.
Carson Thurber. Good evening, Chet Gordon.
Hello, Jeannie Jenkins.
I'm Jim Carroll.
Jean Connor.
And Stuart Hurry, town manager.
Great. We have a consent agenda which has been circulated. It contains the minutes of our last meeting. And it was just like last week, right?
Yes.
December 10th, along with the warnings, the warrants. And I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as circulated.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions as to minutes or warrants that were circulated? Please.
Nancy, if I said Old Castle should be congratulated, I meant the Bennington Community Theater
Oh, all right.
At Old Castle.
at Old Castle. I'm not sure what I said.
Good old castle.
Okay.
But I will change it.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Credit to where credit is due, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have citizen public comment opportunity.
The vote.
Oh, we haven't voted. Thank you very much. All in favor? I'm sorry, I overlooked that.
Sorry.
Thank you for not pointing it out. Citizens comment. Joel, you want to make a comment tonight on?
I do.
Yeah.
I was hoping to get some clarity on how the DID funding proposals will be handled this year. Last year, I believe they were in April, and I'd like to know if there's a process in place for applying for those funds and when the presentations are going to be given.
Go ahead, let's talk about our budget process and the timing. And I think this is a good opportunity for the public to understand our budgetary timeline process and the like. And go ahead.
Well, you folks all received your FY20 budget proposal this evening. Normally, we would schedule the first 2 or 3 Saturdays in January, which we have set aside and reserved the public space at the fire facility for those meetings. Normally, we would take the budget up first, but I leave that to you folks. You need to tell me. I'm sure there are a couple of agencies you want to interview, and there has been talk about considering the BDA budget during this time frame.
Mm-hmm.
It's been submitted as and attached to what we sent out for the agency. So,
Well, heretofore, when it came to the downtown improvement district, that was determined in April.
generally,
So why?
it's moved, but generally it's April, May.
So why change?
I think basically because we're trying to put everything under the same umbrella. I think that may lead to discussion relative to the downtown improvement districts wanting a voice to be heard. And so it's a question of what we would expect of that, of anyone that wants to make a budgetary request during our budget considerations, because this all comes to the public in March. Which
Well, here's my thoughts on moving it into budget session. So much of what we do and what we decide on gets jammed in on those 3 weekends. And the DID is really an important component to, for lack of a better phrase, we don't have a marketing plan, but
we'll be talking about that.
Pardon me?
We'll be talking about that
Right.
marketing plan.
But to jam that in there without a good, open opportunity to do that before the public, I think is short-sighted, especially when it's going to be after the election of potentially 3 new board members.
I think any discussion, really, we should be moving all of these things before the March town meeting, so everyone that wants to comment about any part of our budget or wants to be a part of it gets heard. Doesn't mean that we have to do this on the second, those 3 meetings. We can have one in February.
Okay.
For those type of, those things, whether it's BDA, DID, or whatever. Because at that point in time, I hope that we do have a master marketing plan considered by this board. So to answer Joel's question, it's going to be, I would like to see sometime in February, during the
So
month before.
we wouldn't jam this into
Right.
our normal
Well, we should deal with our
budgetary
municipal
considerations. So
budget.
that would be separate. Okay.
Again, I defer to Stu after we.
Well, yeah, the municipal budgets have to be warned by the end of January in order to meet the timeline for the March ballot. The DID budget is a budget that you folks adopt,
Each.
and that sets the tax rate, so.
Okay.
So I think it's probably, should be done in February, so that when the budget is adopted, hopefully, that will include the component for the DID or DDA or.
Okay, so if we were to adopt the DID, even in our normal budgetary considerations, where that is spent would be determined in February? Is that what you're suggesting?
No, we have a decision or discussion relative to that area in February. Okay?
Apart from,
Apart from the municipal budget per se, so that it's separate and distinct, I think, that I'm trying to say, in the discussion.
I
It makes sense.
think realistically, the downtown improvement district funding, which traditionally has been our contract with the Bennington Down Street Alliance, I think last year we had a request for additional funds for another organization, the DBA, and so that if that falls outside of our general highway and fire fund discussions, that's probably appropriate, because
Yeah.
they don't really connect in a direct link.
okay,
But
just to
they
be absolutely clear with respect to the DID budget, historically, it's always, for the vast majority, it's gone to
Line item,
the, well, it's gone to the BBC. And I hope that we're going to invite other entities, like Mr. Lenzner and his folks, to vie for some of those funds. So I'm just throwing that out there
Well, I
ahead of the
think
curve.
this is basically a line item in our budget that this board has to decide, where to spend its money that we allocate for downtown improvement activity. And what we're saying is that we're inviting those, and we've historically had a contract arrangement with the former BBC. And we've done that on a contract basis, but there is some other agency that wants to look at here's how much we got, folks. And if they want to try to make a pitch for getting some portion of that
So nobody would be excluded, is what I'm driving
in the
at.
discussion,
Yeah,
may be excluded in the decision.
right.
So just to follow up on what I was asking, last year the vote was taken to assign those funds to the BBC before I was able to make my presentation on the same agenda on the same night. Is that the same format that's going to take place this year?
Actually, Joel, what happened last year is the select board approved the
Contract.
the funding of the contract with the Downtown Bennington Alliance. It doesn't preclude the board from adding additional funds to the DID funding source. It's not that it's a concise amount that only goes, this is what the BBC or the DBA requests. If the board approves that, it doesn't mean they can't approve something more than that.
That would mean raising the tax rate then for the downtown.
Yes.
But why isn't there an option that the tax rate for the downtown improvement district is set at what it is, and we're looking to compete, as it were, for that particular sum of money, whether it be $750 or $4,500? Why? It seems like it's monopolistic to assign this money on an annual contract basis that is never competitive.
As I understand it, we have this fund that we've used in the past, and we have contracted with the BBC BDA, right?
That's correct.
Those funds are going to be either the same or more, or less, and we're going to say, folks, come and make a presentation why you should have some portion of it, all of it, and before we actually award a contract, if we do. Okay, and that's not going to be done at a regular meeting, it's going to be part of a budget discussion. I don't want it part of an agenda, I don't think that was really helpful to have, you know, it should be, here's our fund that we use for downtown improvement and contract, either on a contract basis, more likely than not, because that's historically how it's been.
Can we make sure it's that way? I want to be crystal clear, so we're not confused come February. If we have, let's just make it easy math, if we have $100 that's up for grabs for marketing our area, or however you want to describe the downtown, I don't want it to be, come February that some red tape or hangs us up. I like the idea of people coming in front of us to kind of proportion that money out as we see fit. I'm asking now, I don't know the answer to it, is that possible?
No, that's what
Well, it
I'm
doesn't.
sorry it wasn't clear.
All right,
but
so
frankly,
you're sure we can do it that way?
Yeah, I don't, we've
Perfect.
got, if we have 5 parties that think that they can do a job of marketing our community, and I want to also say, that we have to have a discussion whether or not our marketing plan is going to be a town functioning through the department within the 4 walls, or are we going to contract it out? We haven't even had that discussion. And that's got to be something that we have on.
I just want to wrap things up with a real quick thing, and that's it. I just want to read a statement from the charter, because I'm looking to get some clarity on what it is. As you know, the DBA's purpose is marketing, and marketing downtown. And at the last meeting, the vice chair made a comment about advertising that shouldn't be paid for with tax dollars. Am I remembering that correctly?
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh,
We're
okay.
talking about the Facebook boost, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just, in the town charter, it says, the rights, powers, and duties of the district shall be exercised by the select board and shall be broadly construed to accomplish the purposes set forth above, and shall include the following: to advertise and promote the improvement district.
Okay, improvement district.
Well, that's the downtown
Yeah,
improvement.
so what I was objecting to was the individual ads for individual businesses that were being individually boosted. So I see that as being private enrollment, something that's individually benefiting specific people.
Okay.
And it feels inappropriate. I still feel,
Okay.
I know we can disagree on this, but I still feel that it's inappropriate for property taxes to pay for individual advertisements for individual businesses, which is essentially private benefit.
And of course, the property taxes we're talking about come exclusively from the downtown business district, no residences.
Well,
Right.
that would be true of the DID funds, that's right.
That's all we're talking
Yeah.
about, though. Those are the only funds.
Yeah.
And the BBC has done similar posts on their Facebook feeds about individual businesses. So I guess I'm not sure why it's okay for one entity to do something a few times and then us to do an entire series, because we believe it's a very successful thing to do. I'd like to have a level playing field going forward.
Well, I think in February, we're going to have a talk about marketing for our town. Whether or not a component of that just goes to the specific district, or we're talking about it on a global basis, because our district expands beyond the district, as you know. Or, excuse me, our town is much greater than the downtown improvement district. We have to decide if we have $100 that is available across the spectrum, not just to the district, okay? Now, if we're talking about just the contract with the BBC for performing various activities, which may be marketing, it may be events, it may be other things, we have to decide as a group how we want those dollars spent.
Did you say making, maybe I didn't understand, did you say making the DID funds available?
No,
for
not the
purposes
ID funds.
outside of the district?
No, we may be
Oh,
missing
okay. I didn't
all the
understand.
funds that we have as a town.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because the district is one part of our community, and we want to make sure that the entire community gets the benefit of our marketing dollars. Really, simply.
Yep, that's right.
So we will set that up, so it'll be a special discussion, but I think the board has to talk about what we want to do, how much we want to allocate to our marketing and other areas of our community.
Tom, just to be clear, and I'm sorry to beat the dead horse, but it feels to me like we can come at this from one of two directions. We can either say we've got $30,000 to spend, or we can look at the proposals and decide what is going to benefit Bennington the most. And we're
So
not.
I think the board should decide that.
Exactly,
because-
the board
yeah,
could decide
yeah,
that, but the
exactly.
board could decide if several fantastic proposals came in and some really great opportunities, the board could decide that it was worth making a larger strategic investment than we have. Or we might decide the other way. You know, we might decide, look, this is a year we have to tighten our belt and we have to do less of this. So it feels to me that some of it is how much can we afford, but another part of it really is what does our community get out of it?
Yes, yeah. I think that's our discussion that we have to have.
Mhm.
How, if we have this $100, we have to enhance that. And I think what we also are suggesting that we have, our community has not gotten a real bang for the buck across the spectrum.
Outside of the DID?
Yeah, outside of the DID. Have I maybe I'm missing?
No, I agree. I think there needs to be
That's it for
a very
tonight.
focused attempt at a real marketing plan.
Any other comments, or that's it? Thank you, Joe. Other business, Stu, do you have anything that you have to?
Just very, very briefly, we opened the bids for the HVAC at the police facility on Friday. We had two bidders. One low bidder was Hayden Plumbing and Heating. Their numbers were very, very close to what the engineering estimates were. The other bidder was Bennington Cooling and Heating, and they were much higher, both on phase 1 and 2. And I will be coming back to you. These prices are good for 30 days, so we may have to make a decision sooner rather than later. But we think with the capital facilities monies that we have available, which is in the $350,000 range, and the excess funds that came into us through the solar settlement, we have sufficient monies to go ahead and do phase 1 and 2. It's about a $440,000 project, but we think we can do it, with your permission, without impacting the taxpayers, because the monies are both there. Neither of them were raised from taxes. So I'll be back to you with a full breakout and a memorandum to show you how we think it can be done. It will save us probably 10 to 15% on the cost of phase 2. And there's an additional savings because you don't have to remobilize, you don't have to rebid, you don't have to do a whole host of things. Hayden and Plumbing bid both options very competitively, and they met all of the requirements of the bid and the bid bond. So
They're local too, as well.
they are, and so we're obviously recommending them, and it's just a matter of whether the board wants to authorize us to do both phases at the same time.
I guess we take your recommendation into consideration, right? You think it's done?
Yeah, we didn't have a lot of time to get this out to you prior to this meeting, so I wanted to announce it tonight,
That's fine.
and we'll get you some details.
Great, I'm very on it. Good.
Okay, that's all I got.
I'm gonna go. Gene,
can-
Gene,
You can go where?
hold.
Why? You don't want to
It's got
contaminate
cooties.
everybody? Oh, that's too bad. Anything else to,
No, that's all for me.
Jane,
What?
anything before we go?
No.
We do need a long executive session on contract matter.
Yep. All right, I move we go into executive
Sorry,
session
guys.
directly on a contract matter.
Thank you.
Feel better.
I hold you. Merry
Before we go,
Christmas.
you said just, are we gonna go all the way around here? Just-
Yeah.
Oh, for what? Oh, other business? Yeah. Thanks.
I was trying to cut that off, but I.
I saw that.
Start over there.
Go ahead.
No?
You already moved to
No,
executive
I've already moved to
session.
executive session.
Just a quick update for the community on the armory. What's going on next door?
They're still working on the final cleanup. I believe this is the PCB removal activity. As you may recall, there was PCB in the paint that they used when they painted the interior concrete block walls. And I think they're moving to encapsulate that, which has been accepted by EPA. And I'm not entirely sure what the timeline is for them to finish. It's been a massive undertaking.
Yeah, we thought they'd be done by now, but
Yeah.
still working on it.
So we think the armory will be finished soon. I don't know whether the Department of Defense funding for the new
Readiness Center?
Readiness, thank you, Dan. Readiness Center is available. I had heard last year that money was available, but we've had some preliminary conversations once again with the folks up north in the National Guard. They were looking at other sites, but they're still interested in our Bowen Road site along the river. And so we're waiting to, I think when this is finished, the building will be clean, it'll be ADA accessible, and I think then they'll begin conversations with us about.
And it's directly next to the Putnam redevelopment.
Yeah.
Which, so I just bring it back up because as a reminder, there was a small discussion that they could have an interest in swapping some.
That discussion will be had. That's still up there.
And then the last couple of meetings, we obviously had some shared dialogue on the auction, the house that we're putting up for auction, and that got put in the paper.
Yes.
Can you just give an announcement on the date?
January 7th, in this room, there will be a public auction. We have no reserve, so there's no minimum bid. We most likely will start the auction at what is due in the delinquency and move down from there.
The people, I had a couple people ask me on the payment. How is that structured?
We're looking for 10% down that day, non-refundable, with a closing scheduled within 21 days.
Okay. I just said probably within 30 days, you probably need to come up with all the money.
Yeah,
So
we're trying to push it a little tight, but I suspect that, the property will probably go for not a lot of money, and I'd be surprised if it goes much higher than what we saw from the other bidder. But
Now, are we planning to put restrictions on that?
the act contains restrictions. All buildings, non-compliant buildings must be removed, which leaves you with the residence, and there are 2 garage structures that are, we think, structurally okay. The mobile homes must be removed, they're non-compliant. The cabins must be removed, they're
Within a certain
non-compliant.
timeline?
I think we didn't set a timeline there, but we'll be looking for them to be removed by April 1, which would benefit the property owner, because then they wouldn't be on the grant list.
Yeah.
Let's see if we could put a timeline in there if
I think
possible.
so. Yep.
Yeah, seems.
We'll negotiate that with the successful
Okay.
bidder.
Thank you.
I have a couple of lighting questions, so I wanted to follow up. Stu, we had talked a while ago on the Pleasant Street parking lot, the solar, the light, the municipal
yes.
lights there are solar and they don't work. And so it is extremely dark when you leave the TD Bank parking lot. And I know this because I plug in my car on the far end, because there's an electric charging station there, and that is the only light on that 2/3 of the municipal lot.
Okay.
So there's that, and then now that Friendly's is closed, apparently all the lighting on that end of the street was their parking lot lighting. We don't have a street pole down, and so our last street pole is right at the end of Friendly's parking as you go up, what's that street? Hillside, as you go up Hillside. So it's quite dark down by where Adecco is in the
Okay.
nursing school. So
We could probably add a street light there. I'd have to take a look.
Okay.
But yeah, normally we would have a street light at the intersection. That's kind of how we try to set
Well,
it
there
up.
may be one at the intersection, but there's a long space where
There is,
it's
yeah.
quite dark,
Okay.
particularly if you're walking.
Just continue on that, maybe River, Depot Street, you know, that issue that I mentioned, that a lot of folks coming out of the fitness place, and it's really dark through there. Either the lights aren't coming on together, or there's the timing of the solar. Some lights come on and banks of them don't.
Okay, we'll check into that. Depot, that line has been
A weakness.
problematic.
Yeah.
Problematic. We've had some issues with that, and we think we got it corrected, and obviously there's still a problem.
But when-
I don't get out enough, so I don't see that.
But when people come out, that's when they're, you know, they come out all hours of the day and night, and
That's why it's called Anytime Fitness.
that's right. But
There you go. I guess it's my turn. First of all, Merry Christmas to one and all. And I've got to tell you, I had my first meet and greet this past weekend at Brown Cow Cafe. Thank you very much. And about 14 people came. It was thrilling. It really was. I talked about some proposed legislation, and Frank, I actually got a copy of proposed legislation from Vermont Legal Counsel, so that was quite a thrill. And I'll be posting more about what occurred in my Facebook posting, but I encourage you to come and watch and look at, read what we discussed. And that was primarily about daycare assistants and keeping and retaining nurses, teachers, and police through the form of loan forgiveness for those entities. Anyway, that's it.
okay to move into executive session, so Nancy can go.
Here, here.
Here,
Need a second?
Need a second?
Yeah.
Anyone
Okay.
second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We will be going into it. Thanks very much, media, for coming out.